Before we start, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Lunar and the team for hosting us here in their home and for really creating this wonderful setup for us to host this demo day here. So yeah, this is the new Nordic Challengers Demo Day. It's the concluding act of our latest startup program done in collaboration with our partners from Tenity. I'm Andrei, Head of Programs with Copenhagen Fintech, and I'll be your host for the next 3 hours, as I intend to make the most of our time together through the following agenda. So there's going to be a short introduction from Copenhagen Fintech and Tenity. I see quite a few familiar faces in the crowd. That's great, but also some new ones. So before we get going, I would love to put a few words into Copenhagen Fintech, and then my partner Uwe would do the same about Tenity and about the new Nordic Challengers program. Then, as I'm sure you all know, there's been a lot happening in the Nordic ecosystem. So really, there's more startups, more interest from investors, more investments. So we want to put a magnifying glass on the Nordic fintech landscape and see what's happening here. Why are the Nordics punching above their weight, but also what are the challenges and where are we going? What technologies will shape the future of Nordic fintech? So we have 4 great speakers that will share their knowledge and opinion on this subject. And then we'll go to the startup presentation. The new Nordic companies are here today, and they are ready to tell you their solution, to tell you about the roadmap and really their dreams of conquering markets. Each company will have 3 minutes followed by Q&A. So after the presentation, there's going to be space for a question or 2 from the audience. And then for the people here at Lunar, we will go into a 1-hour networking over drinks. So if you want to learn more about the companies, then that's going to be the perfect opportunity to ask more questions and to engage with one another. Right, but who is Copenhagen Fintech? So we're a Nordic innovation hub based in Copenhagen, in Denmark, focused on developing, connecting, and enabling the Nordic fintech ecosystem. We work with different stakeholders, startups, of course. We run various startup stage specific programs for founders, aimed at supporting them to reach their next goals, to reach their next objectives. So we have all sorts of different programs for various stages, supporting them to go to market, supporting them to connect with investors, to access mentorship from senior mentors, but also to connect with corporate partners. We also work with financial institutions, corporations, and there the intention is to connect them with high potential solutions from the Nordic fintech community. So we want to make sure that the financial institutions and the founders meet, they know about each other, and they connect for various opportunities together. Of course, the investors, we're working with over 80 VCs, CVCs, and angels. And the whole idea through the investor program that we run is bridging high potential founders with investors, making sure they connect and they work towards an investment opportunity. And also we focus on the university side, on R&D, bringing that focus from the research and development in the commercial setup. We also run intelligence, reports, data, ecosystem mapping, and the likes. And we also run a co-working space in the heart of Copenhagen. We've hosted half of the Danish fintech community there since we've started back in 2016. And it wouldn't be Copenhagen Fintech without the Nordic Fintech Week, and I'm sure quite a few of you have been there before, but it's our most important event, the largest in the Nordics every year, end of September. You definitely don't want to miss that. With that said, and I'm happy to tell you more about Copenhagen Fintech in the networking break. So I have quite a few colleagues with me here handling various areas at Copenhagen Fintech. So if you want to learn more, if you want to connect with us, we're going to be here in the networking break. So do join, and we're happy to connect and tell you more. And with that being said, would like to invite our partners from Tenity to put a few words into their organization. So we have Uwe here, and he will tell you more about it.
Thank you very much. Can I have the clicker?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. So, on behalf of Tenity, greetings everyone. My name is Uwe, and I am the regional manager for Tenity Nordics and Baltics. So I and my colleagues are based in Tallinn, Estonia, but we have 6 hubs around the world. We're headquartered in Zurich, and we're a spin-off from the Swiss Stock Exchange, in fact. And then we have hubs also in Istanbul, London, Madrid, and Singapore. So 6 hubs for the time being. And we've been at it since 2015, and we have been building this international ecosystem for financial innovation. So what it means in practice is that we do broadly 2 things. We have an innovation platform where we, similarly to Copenhagen Fintech, put on innovation programs for mainly financial institutions. But we also have a VC fund where we back early stage fintechs. And that specific fund function is where we have partnered up with Copenhagen Fintech in running this acceleration program. So for the last 3 months, basically, we have been working with 10 startups, jointly offering them essentially the best that Copenhagen Fintech has to offer in terms of accessing the network, the ecosystem in Denmark and in the Nordics, and then in turn what Tenity has to offer with its ecosystem in the Baltic region and obviously also in Central Europe. So that's Tenity's kind of ecosystem play, and we are proud to partner with the likes of SIX, our parent company, and also UBS in Zurich. This week we announced our partnership with Ripple, who have joined our fund as an LP, in addition to partnering with us across, well, especially in Singapore when it comes to finding DeFi startups who would build on their blockchain. So as you can see, we are very much in favor of innovation, also in the kind of decentralized fashion. So we try to straddle both traditional and decentralized finance, and we believe that let's say there is strength in loose connections, as they say. So being an ecosystem player, we love to put startups in touch with financial institutions, with investors, and obviously vice versa as well. So in case you're interested in finding out more about our global ecosystem, you can come find me later on and I will tell you all about it.
Thank you, Uwe, and please hang on for a minute as we introduce the new Nordic Challengers program. There we go. So really, what is the new Nordic Challengers program? So the desired outcome here is to enable Nordic and Baltic early stage fintechs to become investable and commercially attractive. So this has been the goal of this program. Now, some of the main engines of the program were the 4 masterclass weeks that we've scattered throughout the last couple of months. And those masterclasses were meant to uplift the founders' skills and capabilities on various key topics that are important for them. We looked at quite a few different things, different topics. We'll come to that in a second. But also mentoring and sparring with senior mentors. So getting to connect and spar on various challenges with senior mentors of different profiles. And community exposures and introductions. So making sure the founders get to meet with the right people, whether we're talking investors, financial institutions, or other entities that could enable them to get that important feedback in and further uplift their companies. We've also been focusing on a Nordic Fintech Week and, of course, this demo day here to showcase what the companies are about and where they're going. And then, of course, the investment made at the start of the program by Tenity. So that's just a bit about the program. And again, Uwe and I are happy to tell you more about this program in the networking break. So here is just a timeline on how we've been running the program. So Uwe, if you'd like to put a few words into the first 2 masterclasses.
Yes. So as Andrei said, the general idea is to increase the commercial readiness and the investor readiness of the startups. So with that in mind, we start out with a kind of a foundational approach in making sure that what the companies are building is really required by the market as well. So we put a lot of effort into the foundations and validation in that respect, and then also take stock of, let's say, the data room, the investor deck, making sure that we know that what we need to work on over the next couple of months. And then the second masterclass that we held here in Copenhagen. The first one was in Tallinn, Estonia, and this was very much centered around the Nordic Fintech Week. But we also tried to make sure that our portfolio companies and founders in it are equipped to communicate what they're up to effectively. So that fundamentally covered the first 2 masterclasses.
Yeah, and then a couple of weeks ago, we met again in Riga, the entire cohort, and then we focused on other workshops around uplifting the sales capability, the fundraising skills, all the technicalities there, so that the founders are better prepared before meeting an investor. So that's very important, and also showcasing at a demo day there. Then this week we focused on the last masterclass, so more topics on because we very much think it's not only about fundraising and improving within sales, business development and such, but also skill sets such as team dynamics, branding, identity are also very important, and they support the companies on their roadmap. So that's what we've been doing this week. We've been focusing a lot on how the companies showcase themselves in front of their key stakeholders. And then, of course, picking up now today with the demo day. So that's a sneak peek into how we've structured the program. And of course, more can be said about it. Again, happy to extend upon in the networking break. Thank you so much, Uwe, for joining me here. And I think it's time to move on to the panel discussion. So the state of the Nordic fintech landscape. We're going to put a magnifying glass on what's happening here in the Nordics. And I think we can all agree that the Nordics are on an upward trajectory. So we see more and more fintechs being established. We see, a more sparkling ecosystem on various verticals compared to a couple of years back. Also, more investors, also international investors, are interested in the Nordics and looking at what's happening here. We also run a mentor program at Copenhagen Fintech. We see more and more people wishing to connect with startups. So there's really a lot happening. So we want to look at what do we do right here? What are the challenges? Where are we going? What kind of technologies will shape the Nordic fintech landscape as we move forward? And we have 4 great panelists to share that experience with us. So I'll introduce my colleague from Copenhagen Fintech, David Grundy, to join me here and invite all the panelists on our stage and take it away from us.
Thank you very much. Is this on? Is this on? Okay, great. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Uwe. I just want to reiterate some of the thanks that Andre talked about, because this has been a great effort to get to this point. So I want to thank the companies, and I'd also like to thank Luna for sort of hosting this event. But what we've got today, a very experienced panel coming from different angles, which is great. So I'm just going to invite you up to the stage and ask you to introduce yourselves, because I don't think I would do it justice. So if you can head up to the stage, that'd be great. I'll give you the mic first.
Thank you so much. Brief introduction. I am a mentor here at Copenhagen Fintech, which is a great pleasure. It's also a pleasure being here today. I'm also a mentor at DTU, and then I'm a business angel, so that means that I invest into startups, and I'm an active investor, at least for the period where it's relevant with my competences. And the competences that I bring is from a very long career. I started as a lawyer, an M&A international lawyer, and then I went on to the financial sector, where I was at executive level in open-ended UCITS funds. I continued into one of the most distressed banks during the bank crisis, where I was one of the managers to pull it through the crisis. And then I'd had enough of the financial sector. And then for the last 10 years, I have been doing my own investments or working together with others, buying up companies, exiting them, selling them, whatever. But also always with a focus on go-to-market strategy, sales, and organizational development of the company that I invest into. Focus on tech, of course, but also on the sale of services, as basically Fintech is all about. So, which one of you gentlemen want to take over? Do you want to?
Thanks. Henry here. Sorry, a bit of a croaky voice, so please forgive me. It's not normally like this, but delighted to be here. Thanks to David and the team for having me here. From Leo Capital, so we're an early stage VC fund originating in Asia, actually headquartered out of Singapore. We have 3 funds over there, and now have recently launched a seed stage fund out of Helsinki. We're really looking at the early stage B2B segment and writing checks of up to 500k into startups from across the Nordics and wider in Europe. The story of Leo is very much has very much fintech at its heart. So the 2 co-founders are both actually Indian entrepreneurs and have built businesses themselves for the globe, but out of the markets in Asia. So a good example would be Pine Labs, which is a point-of-sale payments processing business built out of India, which has seen a huge amount of growth, beyond those borders. And our focus is really on finding great founders wherever they may be in the world, giving them access to the right talent across markets, and typically Indian tech talent, and then encouraging them to grow and scale internationally. And often that is into the US market. For where we see the greatest value for B2B software solutions. I used to be a lawyer as well, and then followed the light into first with Octopus Ventures into VC, and now with Leo Capital. Great to be here. Thanks.
Great. Hello, everybody. So I'm Mats. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Lunar Bank. Been with Lunar for about 4 years, but in total I spent about 20 years in the payments and banking landscape. Thank you guys very much for coming out here into our beautiful location, and thanks to Copenhagen Fintech for also arranging this in this is our largest office. We don't talk about it as our head office, but definitely the largest office of Lunar Bank. We are a Nordic digital challenger bank. So those of you who are looking to cash the checks that my panelists here are writing, then of course you need to make sure that you have a business account with Lunar Bank. We have about 20% market share of newly started businesses in Denmark, gunning for the same level of penetration in Sweden. In total, about 1 million customers across the 3 Scandinavian countries, and growing at a very rapid pace. So if you haven't tried us out, then do so, or think about it for your next ventures that you guys are setting up. But great to be here. Let's get into the discussion.
Cool. Thank you very much. I think this is still working. All right, so I guess just a simple exam question for starting off. Andre alluded to it in the sort of intro about the success of the Nordics, 27 million people. But a lot of people see it as punching above its weight, right? It's produced quite a lot of unicorns. And I guess the first question from me would be, why do we think that is the case, right? What is so special about the Nordics that develops these sort of unicorns, these great companies, considering its size, right? Maybe Ulla, you can start.
I think one of the characteristics about the Nordics is that we have a very high level of trust between each other, but also to our state. Coming from Denmark, it seems so obvious, but whenever I travel and talk to people outside the Nordics, I'm always a bit shocked about the skepticism there is towards the state and the government. So I think that's one really important issue. Also, another one is that I think we, to be fair, have had a pretty decent regulatory environment. There's been a lot of strong will to make this possible within the Nordics. And then obviously also that we are very keen on using new technologies, the digital, whatever comes our way, we'll all pick it up at all levels in society. It's not just an elite that wants to work with the new digital opportunities, but it's an integrated part of our society. So it's also a very interesting kind of more democratic, social, democratic, thank you, aspect in this. I think is very interesting. Do you want to add something?
I would echo absolutely all of that. I think certainly in terms of that sort of digital penetration, digital adoption, the Nordics are a great example of that. I think it's easy to underestimate, and many people in this room I know who've spent a lot of time traveling around the world, it's very easy to underestimate the value of two things. The ease with which people speak English, number one, and everyone here puts us to shame as Brits in terms of the language abilities, and the strength of the institutions. Speaking as an ex-lawyer, that the rule of law, the confidence that people get from knowing that your IP, your data, the enforceability of your contract rights is meaningful here in a democratic context is really important. But the most important thing of all is the talent. So just really the strength of the quality of the talent that comes through, the strength of the education system, and the engineering talent in particular is the killer app, if you like. So I think there's a blend of those factors that's absolutely key.
Yeah, and I think just, finishing off on that, I think the talent is important for sure, right? And I also think we have a long history in the region because labor costs are so high just to fund the welfare state in which we live, right? And therefore we also have a long history of substituting capital for labor in the sense that we apply technology to solve business problems to reduce production cost. And we've done so very successfully in farming, in industrials, and it's no surprise then in pharmaceuticals, no surprise that then also gets applied into finance, right? It's just a natural extension of how we live and how we operate in the region, I think.
Yeah, I think you mentioned talent a couple of times, and I think the thing for me, I've been here 7 years, right? I don't speak Danish, it's embarrassing, but it's typically British, yeah, there we go. But I think the one thing I've noticed is the education system, right? It's very different here, right? It's a lot more at an early age, it's a lot more collaborative, it's a lot more outside the box thinking. In the UK, it's very much you do as we say, and that's follow the rules. So I don't know, I think that has a big impact on the talent thing from my point of view, is you educate people into thinking differently. I don't know whether you've experienced that, but maybe from a talent perspective, that's something you can comment on.
Yes, but I also think that we have to be a bit self-critical about that. I'm a Dane, so I'm always a bit skeptical.
Right.
I think one of the things is that we don't really have an elite, or if we do, it's usually not Danish within the universities. So
Okay.
I think we definitely have an issue with being innovative and being maybe more. I think we could pick something up from maybe you Brits, but also definitely from the US, as to being more focused on the very few very good people that we have. So I think it also has a downside that we have this very broad mentality, and as you all know, we have an issue with not being innovative enough in the EU and also in the Nordics. So it's we're a bit copycats a lot, I think, to some extent. Is that unfair?
I refuse to be negative about it. I won't be. I think of course there are challenges, but I think so much of it is about the mindset. And obviously there's a big debate in the UK, isn't there, around the innovation piece. There's a big debate around, yes, we have got some great educational institutions, but there's a fear that the world is coming to the UK, getting educated and then taking all the value outside. And that also flows through to a lot of the debate, which I'm sure we'll come on to, around the startups and value exiting Europe as a whole and the Nordics, to go to the US and elsewhere. But what I will say in defence, I think, of the Nordics, and it's also true of Singapore, where I spent many years, is the relatively small size of the market does force people to think globally. It does force people to quickly contemplate, where do I go from here once I've got my basic concept nailed down? How do I take it forward? I think that's reflected in the data, which, as I understand it, the value, if you look at SaaS in this region, the value of the SaaS and the SaaS sales that are generated from this part of the world is double the demand locally, and that's expected to triple by 2030. So as a net exporter, obviously you have to sell it, to find the home for that, and that requires you to think globally. So I think, whilst that is true, that dare I say it, Viking spirit is still alive and well.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I usually say that it's a super good test market, but that's what it is. It's a very small market. It's a very small population. Even if we count everyone in the Nordics, it's still a very small number. So I think it's a good test market, and I was always challenge both investors and companies that they make sure that that is their attitude from the beginning, so that they have exactly what you mentioned, the global outlook from the beginning, having international people on their team from the beginning. And I think that is beautifully reflected here in Copenhagen Fintech. So I think it's the right way forward.
Okay. And Mads, what the talent objective in Luna? Like, where are you seeing your talent coming from? Like, what is there a trend? Is it Danish? Is it international? What is the trend you see?
Yeah, I think it's just about finding and hiring the best talent for the job, right? And I think we have a massive benefit in the sense that since we have offices here in Copenhagen, we have offices in Aarhus, we have offices in Stockholm, right? So we have a massive talent pool to fish in. Obviously, there's, as you say, there's a lot of international talent in Copenhagen. That's fantastic. There's a lot of sort of niche specific talent in different sub-segments of both tech, but also payments and other areas, depending on whether you go to Aarhus or Stockholm. So I think we have an opportunity to really search wide and broad. And we also see people that actually are open to just moving into one of these cities for joining companies that are on a really exciting trajectory like Luna is. So I think it's also a massive benefit actually being in the region, that it is regarded as attractive, safe, stable, which means that actually talent is open to also coming into the region and not just fishing in the talent pool that is here.
And it was interesting to hear you say that you don't refer to this as your head office, right? And I guess that reflects in your comments, right? You have talent all over the Nordics, basically.
Yeah, but I think it's an opportunity for us to be able to source the best talent, depending on what the job is that needs to get done. But I think there's another interesting observation just in terms of what are different countries good at, right? Because it's also easy when we talk about how the Nordics as a region, or the Nordics and Baltics even, as you guys do from a Tenity standpoint, right? There is still also a historical legacy in terms of who, there's a lot of depth in design competence and how to craft great experiences with products, but also with digital products in Denmark. I think there's a lot of historical engineering competence that goes very deep in Sweden, also in Finland and the Baltics. So, you do also see some variations a little bit depending on which country you go into. Where can you find some really unique talents that totally stand out? So I think that's also something to think about as you look at how do you scale across the region.
Okay, and you said you've been at Luna 4 years, so it kind of lines nicely with my next question. So, having said all that, what do you think have been the key factors to success for Luna over the last 4 or 5 years in the Nordic ecosystem? Like, what do you think stands out for you, like in your time that you've been there? Like the key moments, the key pieces.
Yeah, I think. Look, I think it's one of the amazing things in working in a scale up is that the achievements sort of really vary over time. And as you hit a milestone, it's not like you really celebrate that for a long time. I mean, it's nice on the day you hit the milestone that, okay, finally we made it. But then, because you're looking to scale and you're looking to go on that growth trajectory so fast, that also means that you don't have a lot of time to sort of celebrate the fact that, okay, we did this. You just have to immediately move on to the next thing and the next thing. And you're kind of really never satisfied or never happy about, where you got to. You just want to get to the next place, right? And but with that said, I think looking at where we are, there's, obviously a bunch of critical things in our journey. As a regulated business, of course, becoming a fully licensed bank was super important. That's a massive achievement for us because it unlocked all of the market potential that we were looking to pursue in the region. So that's, of course, massive for us. Then I think we've seen a massive shift over the last few years in terms of shifting away from just user growth to value growth and value creation. And that's been something that's been amazing for us, is to identify the opportunity to actually pursue delivery of more value to our users and also have the confidence in charging for that value so that we can monetize and deliver that value back also to our investors and shareholders. I think those are a couple of the learnings for us that have been super important. Just making sure that we have the license to operate and then making sure that we can also monetize on that.
And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. As someone looking from a Dane, looking from outside in, like what is your view on sort of Luna's growth, where it's gone to, where it is now? Like, have you got an opinion on like something that stood out for you within that journey?
I am deeply impressed. When you started, I mean, I used to work in a traditional bank, so when you started, I just thought, oh, good luck. This is really, it's going to be a really, really difficult journey for you guys, but I think that you've done excellently, and I think it's been, I'm so impressed, and I actually have, I think at least 2 startups that are your customers. Only 2, but you don't know how many investments I have, so it's, yeah. But anyway, no, I'm impressed by it because it's really difficult to start and run a bank. I know, because as I said, I was working with one during the crisis, so I really know it the hard way. So I'm impressed because I thought in the beginning it would just be more or less of a marketing gimmick for Nykredit. So I thought, okay, here we go, it's just a gimmick. But it turned out to be a serious bank. So I'm proud of you guys.
And Henry, do you have you come from slightly wider field, so the view on Luna from your outside perspective?
I think it's great to to see the proof point around the opening up of the sector. I think you're looking from the sort of Asian perspective into Europe and seeing how perhaps the full realization of the open banking initiative hasn't always been happened as fast as one would have wanted, but it's examples such as Luna that really do demonstrate that it can be done, and I'm sure there's more to come as well. So I think that's really encouraging. Yeah.
And sticking to the time theme, I mean, when I founded and ran my own company many years ago, it didn't seem like there was a level of support that there is now in the ecosystem. I think it'd be just worth commenting on that. Like, how have things changed for startups in like the last 5 years? Like, what has changed that's sort of helped that growth maybe, or help companies come with ideas through to sort of the scaling into international regions? Is there something that stands out for you that's changed?
Do you want to talk to the Danish ecosystem?
Yeah, I can try. Well, actually, I said it before because my initial thought was, oh, good luck, it's not going to happen. I wouldn't think that today. So things have definitely changed, and it's more, as you said, accommodating, and I think there's a more open mindset to. But we started when I started seriously looking into fintech. I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I don't know. It was very much a disruptive mindset. We need to disrupt the sector. And coming from the sector, I think that's nice. It does need some disruption, but it's also a sector that's very sensitive. It plays a crucial role in our societies, so please don't disrupt it too much. I hear less and less of the disruption, and I kind of like that because it's still disruptive because you're doing new stuff and you're doing new things, but it's not top of the agenda anymore, and I think that's good. I think it's good for fintech, and I think it's good for the sector as such. So there is a kind of maturity from break things or whatever was the attitude at that time, which doesn't work with the financial sector at all.
Mats?
Yeah, maybe I can just challenge that a little bit, right? Also working in the sector, because I think, there's never a better time than today to start a new company, because otherwise you're just going to go around thinking about it. When should I do it? You should always just do it now. There's never a better time. I think the reality is that, if we look at the state of affairs now, there's just such an immense amount of tools, of support, of programs like the one that is being described here today, that really makes it a lot more. You have access to, I'm not saying it's easier, that's the wrong way of putting it, but it just makes it a lot more accessible to leverage on resources that help propel you on your journey. I think with the growth of AI, that's also massive, right? Because you can look at automating so many things. It has a massive impact on our business, but I think it will have a massive impact on, all of the industries, but especially in tech overall, that, you can leverage that to really push your cost of operating down and focus more on actually running your business. So I think and then I think from a financials perspective specifically, there is something, I will agree, in the disruption part, but I think that also stems from the fact that there's just so much more fundamental regulation in place now, that if you're looking to get into the fintech space, there's just so many avenues that you can pursue that are now more clear from a regulatory perspective, which would make it easier for your company to carve a clear path, to acquire the right license, to actually be able to be fundable and investable, because it's something that you can actually explain to your investors that it fits within a framework that is actually okay. So I think there's really lots and lots of opportunity, and as maybe we over-regulate in Europe, you were touching on that a little bit, but it also helps in a way in the fintech space, because there's a lot of exciting routes that are actually opened up now with the advent of more regulation in the financial sector, just creating some more order.
The regulation piece, I was going to come on to that later, but now you've mentioned it. There's been lots of narrative about differences between the US and Europe and which framework is better. Is one more relaxed than the other? Is Europe over-regulating? Have we got a problem here? Seen lots of clips on business channels, on YouTube and the likes, but what's your take on that? Is it a fair narrative to say that Europe's over-regulating and that US is kind of more relaxed in the way?
Should I just start since I have the mic? So I think there is the regulatory burden is just massive, right? And we can argue about is that right or not? And I think that's maybe more of a political question. It just makes it very hard and very expensive to run the business. That's extremely clear, and that pushes prices up for consumers and businesses and reduces value for the economy overall, right? So that's not a great thing. On the other hand, there are now also opportunities if you look at things like the MiCA regulation, or if you look at instant payments regulation. Those also open up massive opportunity for fintechs, because it makes things like crypto more mainstream, and you can now look at how do you deploy things like blockchain technology in a regulated environment to actually create more new services and more value for the end user. So there's some significant opportunities that also open up in that, I think. I don't know what your guys' perspective is from a sort of investability perspective.
Let's hear what the lawyers have to say.
Love this one. Yeah, this is great. How long have we got? So I think, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a lot of soul searching that goes on in Europe about this, because, and we've had obviously, whether it's Donald Tusk, Ursula von der Leyen, everyone, starting to, and Macron, of course, starting to be much more overt in tackling some of the preconceptions and perhaps encouraging people to be a bit less negative about it. I agree that having the structures is really helpful. The UK's, we were just talking about this earlier, the UK's position now I think is quite intriguing, because they've, having taken a step out, somewhat tripped over itself and fallen out of Europe, not really thinking it through, but let's leave that to the side for the minute, now has an opportunity potentially to do something quite interesting in being lighter on regulation, more market driven in the way it approaches things. Whether it will achieve that and do it successfully, who knows? But it does have that opportunity, and Europe also has proven that it can do it. And I think if we fast forward 5 years from now, may well demonstrate that actually surprise everyone on the upside and the ability to do that. As you mentioned, MiCA coming through, you see the combination of the regulatory horizon and then people starting to really think, okay, how will that allow me to unlock value, for example, in crypto, through the Lightning Network, through accelerating payments, through finding ways of unlocking all of that value that's currently in the system. So it's almost, think of the market potential first. How do I address an addressable market here in a way that's meaningful? Yes, that requires, I'm afraid, probably some lawyers. It requires a little bit of thinking around how's that directive going to get implemented market by market. But actually, if you're the right kind of founder, you'll blast through those barriers. You'll find ways of prioritizing, and you will build the solution that takes advantage of that opportunity in the market. So see it as a potential defensive moat for you as a business, as to something that just, gives you an excuse to give up. There'll always be excuses to give up. Regulation's another one, but what Europe won't do is deliberately, particularly now, I think, look to stifle that opportunity. So I'd take the regulatory thing as a challenge and a means to build a defensive moat around what you're doing, rather than something that's an additional burden.
Well, I completely agree. And I'm sorry to say to you, Brits, that I have a strong hope that the EU will find a way to diminish the differences between the countries, so that we will have more of a concerted European market. I think we're on our way, but it can definitely get better. For me, it's always a bit funny when people say that the US is deregulated, because anyone who's trying to do business in the US has tried to do business in the US would know that you have to look into the different regulations in each state if you want work across the US. So it's really, really complicated and a bit scary, to be honest. I always said no to entering the US for that. That's one reason anyway. But I think that is our opportunity in the EU, that we should be more coordinated, and I think we're heading the right way. How do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that.
Great. Okay. Let's switch focus a little bit. It's coming from something you said earlier about company accounts, but leading into that question and blatant advertising, because we recently did a Nordic Fintech report where we highlighted trends and the likes across the various countries, technologies, trends, and one of the things it showed was that B2B was dramatically on the rise, right, in terms of focus. And you mentioned before, you joked about have company accounts in Luna, but it'd be really good to understand from an SME perspective, what is the priority of SME sort of features and functionality? And I guess, do you agree with the B2B trend in terms of it's rapidly growing, right?
Yeah, so B2B, absolutely. I think what a lot of startups and scale-ups have recognized is that in the quest of monetizing more on the investments that you make in your business and scaling your business, there's just a higher willingness to pay and a greater monetization potential to a large extent in B2B plays. So I think that drives one shift towards B2B. It was great to do, nice consumer-focused value propositions when funding was more easily available, but faster monetization comes in B2B. So I think that's one significant value, I think, in it. And then I think, from our own perspective, it's also an amazing opportunity to be able to serve micro businesses and scale ups because, one, of course, it helps the economy overall. That's, every large company starts as a small company. But also it's actually an area where the cost to serve is incredibly high for legacy banks, and that creates opportunity for companies with, more efficient stacks to step in, like Lunar, and actually provide a better service at a much lower operating cost. So it's also a very financially logical thing for us to do.
And let's ask the angel and VC investor.
I completely agree, and it is my experience from running small and medium-sized companies that it is so tiresome to work with the traditional banks. Either you're with a very local bank that would love to offer your services, etc., but it's really, really expensive, or you're with one of the big banks and they don't really care about you. So there is definitely a gap in the market, and I think it's very important, if we could just be a bit meta, that we in Europe do whatever we can to make our small and also micro companies, small, medium-sized companies grow, because that is where we've always grown from. We all in Denmark love to talk about Novo, etc., but it's not really where our growth originally came from. So we need to make the best term available for these medium-sized companies in the EU. So there is definitely a gap in the market. So thank you.
Well, we're B2B investors, so we've definitely drunk the Kool-Aid on that one. And I think having partners, including banking partners, who understand that is critical, particularly as we're seeing. We come from the legal industry, and that's probably the slowest of all to adjust to sort of the fully digitized world. And whatever's coming down the track next for us, whether it's agentic AI or swarm agentic AI that we're all looking forward to next year, whatever it may be. But I think the speed with which you're seeing, fully integrated, embedded finance in so many different ways now is really exciting. And it's very hard to fully realize some of those opportunities if you're working with partners and advisors who are still working in the 19th century, frankly. So for me, that's a bit of a no-brainer. Can I get some kind of fee from Luna for saying that?
Yeah, me too. Can we get a t-shirt?
Yeah, we'll set you up. We have an affiliate program for you guys.
So Henry, it's time to put you on the spot a little bit. Yeah. So you said in various comments that Indian founders, Singapore, you mentioned Finland,
yep.
And I'm just interested. Like you've told me before the panel, Nordic is a focus for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why exactly is that? I know we've raised a lot of points here, but in particular, like, what for you and your company? Why is it the Nordic focus?
Again, it comes back to talent. I mean, I think it's quite simple. If you know, we're in the talent game in terms of the VC, early stage VC game is a talent game. It's very simple. We see, as we briefly discussed already, very high quality education system producing, people who are ready-made, world-class engineers often. Now there may not be the entire team sitting neatly in one city, but that's where our thesis is all around thinking globally, both in terms of talent, plugging gaps in the team sheet as teams are scaling. Part of that is down to technology, actually, as you said, but equally there is often some interesting opportunities to bring in world-class tech talent from other markets. We would say, of course, India being top of that list, and then thinking globally in terms of markets as well, and going to elsewhere, not just in Europe, but also in the US. So as I said before, we see some parallels with Singapore. Now, India's different, of course, 1.4 billion people. Singapore, 6 million. But if you look at Singapore, then again, it's that idea around if you're building a business, you're going to exhaust your local market very quickly. You have to think globally. So I do believe that that's something that is prevalent in this part of the world. When you combine that with the ability to have people just do what they say they're going to do, again, that sounds such a simple thing, but people are pretty well disciplined in terms of the business environment. Our own experience in terms of, we're backed by the government in Finland, and the experience we had with them was very straightforward, very transparent, and very easy. So all of these factors all combined to make it just a compelling opportunity. And I think sometimes there's a bit of a lack of confidence. I think people in this part of the world don't know how good they are. A lot of what we're trying to do is to challenge people and say, you are world class, in fact, in terms of the talent. I know it's scary in terms of going overseas. I know it's scary in terms of building a global team, looking at global markets, but you can do it, and others have done it. So we want to find those, diamonds in the rough, who are prepared to take that risk and dive in, and we're here to help them do that.
Okay, before I hand over to you, one loaded question for you. Do you see a need for, when companies get to a certain size, to leave the Nordics? Like in terms of, we see a lot of companies here that grow to a certain size and then they move to the US or they move to another part of the world, right? Do you see a need to do that, or is it from a VC perspective?
From a VC perspective, we're looking to build billion-dollar companies. It's hard to do that without leaving your home market. So I think you don't have to lose the essence of who you are as a company. I think as we've already discussed with Luna, that's almost a labeling issue in some ways. The DNA of the company and the cultural DNA of the company can remain very much Nordic without it, without taking advantage of market opportunities elsewhere. So I think as you keep that in mind, then I think, there should be the opportunity to both scale well beyond the size of your current market. It's happening anyway. The Nordics is a net exporter of B2B SaaS, so it's all about that mindset, I think.
Mats, you got something?
No, but I would just add that it also comes back a little bit to the cultural predisposition of how we work in the region, because we built our wealth on, in Denmark, basically brewing beer and farming pigs. Excuse me, I'm not Danish, right? But and then selling that outside of a home market, right? Swedes are equally simple. We chop down trees and dig out minerals, and then we sell those outside of our home market. And now we're just building software and exporting that outside of our home market. We've been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it's just a natural extension and evolution of that, I think.
Ulla, have you done a lot of angel investments? What's your view? So just on investments in general in Denmark, right? In terms of opportunities, in terms of are there good companies out there that you're seeing, you're interested in, what you advise them, just general state of the investment market, right?
Yes, I definitely see, as I said before, a higher quality. I also think it's a bit out of my league, most of it, because I'm just a business angel. So it's more for guys like Henry, I think.
What ticket size would you normally do?
500,000 Danish
would
be a start,
right?
Which is pretty high for a Danish
it
business
is.
angel.
Yeah.
So it's just to say, it's not really. I don't think it's really suited for business angels. And anyway, not in Denmark. Maybe more in Sweden. I have an impression that the highest sums in Sweden. But again, it's one of the issues in Denmark that we don't. No, I'm wrong. No, same thing.
Danish is like a lot of Swedish.
Oh yes, many million. I know. No, but it's difficult to raise big money in Denmark. I mean, that is our issue, as you said before, David. That we have this tendency when our companies grow, we're not able to fund them anymore. And I honestly don't understand why, because I know the money's there. There's a lot of money, but it kind of stops at around. Sorry for being Danish, 100 million Danish kroner or something, and that's really weird. I don't know why, but it's a mystery to me. I think you might have the same issue there is the same issue in Sweden, but it's a higher sum. So it's kind of our challenge. That's why we need you guys.
And Henry, anything to add on the scaling side of things in terms of the size of tickets and where that can come from and how we can attract more sort of scaling investments?
Yeah, well, I would say, obviously the angel communities and the friends and family networks are absolutely critical part of the ecosystem. So we can't do our job unless you do yours. So I think that's totally interdependent. We're writing 500k tickets here, talking in euros, in this part of the world. So we're still pretty early stage. Our funds in Asia can write checks up to 2 million. But we're writing still, very early stage tickets, and we're really encouraging people to and challenging people to then, really think carefully about how do you want to scale. It's different in consumer, but in B2B you can be more ambitious. So that's our whole piece is around challenging people to think globally, and then navigating through the roadmap to get you there. So, we would probably more than many investors suggest that you think about that much sooner. Because once you've started to think in those terms, then it does change how you think about your talents and your markets. So again, we're not going to suggest you do, exhaust all the opportunities in Europe before you look to the US, for example.
Okay, and Mats, just one question for you. And in terms of Luna's scaling strategy, right, where do you see the next big sort of region for you guys, right? Where is that?
No, but I mean, we've always said that our home market is the Nordics, and I think that very much remains the case. I know we're talking here about the fact that it's a small region. On the other hand, the Nordics is the most profitable banking landscape in the world. Each individual country is dominated by 1, 2, 3, up to 4 large banks that are making obscene amounts of money, and if you calculate on a per capita basis, it's just completely excessive. And as a consequence, there's a lot to play for, and therefore our strategy is still, okay, how do we go deep in each of the countries here? And once we have proven that model should be easily scalable to then take outside of our home region. The EU is a lot simpler more broadly if you're talking about the Eurozone, because it's just a lot easier to operate in because it's the same currency. But if we can do it here, we should be able to make it anywhere.
Okay, I'm just conscious of time. I'm sure Andre's going to start waving at me any second soon. But I do want to do a little bit on the future, right? I do want to have a little look at like what regions. So we say the Nordics is successful, but what regions should we also be looking at for inspiration? Like where can we derive some ideas from, some views from? Like what regions do you think we should be looking at?
So just very quickly, I think the UK is just immensely impressive from a fintech perspective. I think there's just a massive depth of talent and a huge great access to capital that just makes London especially a really interesting place for fintech. I think for payments also you see massive evolution in places like India, Brazil and places like that. So I actually think we have a lot to learn also from emerging markets if you're looking to operate in the payment space.
Yeah, I think there are some really interesting sort of leapfrog technologies, etc., coming from emerging markets and from Asia. To give an example, we've got a portfolio company in London, a TurPay, that's using QR code payments to circumvent a lot of the large sort of fees that otherwise merchants would be subject to, also simplifying things for consumers. That's borrowed straight from the Asian markets, and I think it's those kinds of ideas that can really help.
Okay, and then final question from me. Is there any, and I guess this is probably geared towards you, Henry, a little bit, in terms of, is there any key businesses or technologies you're very focused on at the moment?
we keep a reasonably open mind. I think we're always interested in looking at the crossover opportunities where we're seeing particular trends coming through in other industries. So as I say, I think there are some legacy businesses where for example, in travel, where you've got a lot of sort of repeat manual processes, you've got a large addressable market, and an ability to embed financial solutions in that space, for example, that are quite exciting. I think a lot of people are talking about transformative use of agentic solutions to really change how vast swathes of manual processes are currently done. And of course, I think with Mika coming up, in the blockchain crypto space, and of course what's happened across the pond, which everyone's looking at quite closely, it could be quite interesting on that front as well. But I think we're keeping an open mind, really looking for the great founding teams who will then bring the ideas to us as well. We're being a bit lazy like that.
Okay. Ulla, have you got anything to add to that?
No, I always find it interesting when people present solutions that are to the boring processes, the back office processes. Because I remember being an executive that was killing everyone. We had so many people occupied doing those processes. They were very inefficient and very difficult to get a hold on. So I think the little less sexy things, but again, as you said in the beginning, the whole LLM AI is also going to be very interesting. I think the supercomputer we have here in Denmark is going to open some really interesting opportunities, and I look forward to seeing cases where people dive into that opportunity. I think it's really good, super interesting.
Slightly varied question for you on the same theme, but as a commercial person in Luna, which technology are you most excited about? Which do you think will generate the most value for Luna?
But I would think about the value generation. I think Ulla is definitely onto something. I think the value generation is, you got to break it into two parts. One is just creating value by eliminating, unnecessary cost so that you can invest back in your product. I think now we have, more than half of our customer service interactions is handled by AI. That just takes out a massive amount of cost that we can reinvest back in the product and deliver a better product back to our customers. And as a matter of fact, customers are still saying that they had a fantastic service experience and interaction with us, in spite of the fact that it was just with basically a robot. So, I think that's something that creates a lot of value creation opportunity. And then we haven't even started scratching the surface on how do we deploy AI to actually enhance the interaction with us and how we present certain services or certain offers or other things. So I think, we have a lot to learn in this space.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I would just like to thank our panelists. I'd like to thank Luna again for hosting. And I think Andre is going to be happy because we're on time. So.
Thank you so much.
Right on time, David. Yeah, we will at some point. Thank you. Is this on? Yeah. Great, and what a useful question to end the panel discussion on how the future of fintech will look like and what technologies will shape Nordic fintech. Because now we're going to move to the companies that aim to shape the future through their solutions. So you'll be hearing them one by one, 3 minutes each, followed by Q&A. So if during their presentation your question comes up, my colleague will be running around with a microphone. So more than welcome to ask that question, and the same goes for the people online. So with that being said, let's go and see some fintech startups at work. So I would like to invite Complog for the first presentation.
Hello everyone, I am Maarja-Liisa Soe. I'm the co-founder of Complog. Complog is an AI-driven risk management platform for compliance teams working in fintechs. On average, financial institutions spend more than 400,000 euros every year to comply with EU regulations, but still more than 60% of them paid compliance fines last year. And surprisingly, still more than 90% of compliance teams are using Excel to manage their compliance risks. Excel does not provide any comprehensive risk overview, It is time consuming, especially when it comes to generating reports or working on the same document with multiple users. And it does not keep any audit trail of the work done. This is where Complock comes in. Complock helps to oversee, manage, and report all your compliance risk on a single platform. It is a tool built by compliance to compliance. My co-founder, Mari-Liis, has been head of compliance in different banks all over Europe. Our CTO, Marek, has more than 20 years of experience in IT and banking. I bring the power of execution. I've been in the Prime Minister's team for more than 8 years, plus Alexander, our CPO. What we have done so far. We launched the product in the beginning of this year. We onboarded 5 paying customers. We followed really closely their user experience. We mapped their needs, and we started to enhance the product so we can reach out to the bigger customers and actually start scaling. We have shown the updated product already to some of our customers in the waiting list, and they love it. We have signed 7 LOIs. In total, we are talking about a market which is expected to grow 24% annually. We will launch the products in January, and then we will really get the MRR going. Our business model is based on subscription according to the number of seats and the number of risk frameworks. As mentioned, our biggest competitor is still an Excel. But most importantly, we have big plans because we are building an AI compliance agent, and this is only the first step on our journey, because our mission is to support compliance teams globally. We are currently in a process of closing a round of 600K. We have a lead investor. The term sheet is signed. 400K is already committed. This is Complock. Reach out to us if you know a fintech or if you are one who is eager to automate your compliance workflow.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, please stick around for questions. Anyone that would like to ask a question? Yeah, Uwe, please go ahead.
All right. So you showed the competitor slide. I mean, risk management and compliance have been around for such a long time. So what's your thesis on why the space hasn't been tackled more aggressively? And then which segment are you exactly going after, and why is it uncatered to?
I think we have seen the a market boom when it comes to first line of defense in compliance, like tools for automating workflows for KYC, transaction monitoring, onboarding customers. And now it's the time to put emphasis and energy into the second line of defense. I think it's something what was also said earlier in the panel that there are processes that are not so sexy, and people are looking more into generating revenue. And now it's time to actually think about, when we are about to scale, how we can actually make our processes more effective and efficient. There are some players out there, but they're big and really not fit for fintechs. They're expensive, their cost is high, and it's always like, if you have an opportunity to choose, either you have a software which is really expensive, or you can actually hire full-time employees ×2, then you will opt for the full-time employees who will then reach out for the Excel, which is for free, for minimum license. So basically, this is what we are not going after, the ones who are already using any kind of solution, because there is so much free opportunity to help out those who are actually in need.
Any other questions for Complock? Yes?
I actually think it was your second question, so I'm just going to pose that. What is your target? Which segment are you going to target? It looked as if you were covering different segments. So what are your targets?
We are targeting fintechs. Was that the question? Or we see that right now our ideal customer is fintech up to 150 employees with a compliance teams of around five people. But obviously, we are only like preparing ourselves for scaling. So after we have, like we have made sure that our 10 and first 100 customers are super happy, then we have the confidence to reach out for the bigger teams as well.
And we take one more question from Henry.
Thank you. So I see cable obviously in the top right quadrant there as well. To what extent are they looking to target the EU market?
So they are not looking into EU market. They are focusing to the US market. So this is where we see that we can first focus on EU market, but actually, as the platform is dynamic, it's not tied to any jurisdiction. Then we are also like really born with the idea that we are going to conquer the world. We were going to make Complock a household name globally for compliance teams.
Great, thank you so much. And of course, we also have the networking break for more questions. Thank you once again. We'll now move on to the next company, where we have Azure Finance. There you go.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Petter Affenberg. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Azure Finance. We help banks and media provide investors, traders, and savers with unique data and information about listed companies so they can have an edge in the markets. In the US, all public companies report in a structured system every quarter. Europe, in comparison, is a mess. There's no structured system, and the data is locked in different PDFs under different jurisdictions and in different languages. This means that the data is expensive and time-consuming to extract, handing off a competitive advantage to other markets. We can solve this. We built a solution that can automatically harvest financial information and structure the data, as well as gather unique insights. And by using AI, we can handle these different PDFs, even though that everyone is different in terms of terminology, layout, and language. Our competition here in Scandinavia uses students every quarter to manually enter the data, and they can only deliver a limited data set up to 10 days after the report is out. Since we automate, we're fast. Just minutes after the report is out, we can deliver the data. And with our automated solution, we are also more scalable, allowing us to handle more geographies, but also a wider data set, which means that we can gather unique data. So if we look at each sector, we can provide unique sector KPIs, such as in the gaming sector, where we can extract number of subscribers, average revenue per users, and also number of games in the pipeline. Our business model is very simple. You pick the data points that you need, and you pay a monthly fee. And traction-wise, we're doing our first pilots now with media companies in Sweden, and we're close to closing a pilot with an Estonian CFD brokers. And in the meantime, we're talking to big banks in Sweden, such as SEB, Länsförsäkringar, but also innovative brokers such as Nordnet and Saver. But remember, even though that these guys are from the Nordics, we're solving a European problem, and we have a great team to do so. Andrew, my co-founder, has built technology for the last 25 years at both leading corporations as well as startups. I, on the other hand, have previous startup adventures as well as experience from the venture capital industry. Ulf, our lead developer, has worked in health tech as well as fintech before, and Robin, our product advisor, has worked for leading consulting firms. And today, in our first pilots, we have seen that our data can make a big difference. For media companies, journalists can write articles about the stock market a lot faster. And we see that brokers also see the potential for increased user engagement. So if you work at a bank or a media company, please connect with us with this QR code or find me and Andrew afterwards. So we're eager to explore more new use cases together with you. Thank you so much and look forward to networking.
Thank you, Azure Finance, everyone. If you'd
that's the Q&A,
we might have
sorry.
some questions. Anyone that would like to learn more about Azure Finance before the networking break? Any questions? There we go. Yeah.
All right. So pricing-wise, how much cheaper can you be than your student competitors? And then, of course, I mean, I can imagine that there are speed advantages and precision advantages as well. So I guess price is the main. Or yeah, maybe I should ask this way. What are the main drivers that you think will drive your adoption?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we see is that this is a very old industry where the same kind of data always have been handled, just like you order things from a certain menu. What we are doing with our customers is that we're sitting down with them and we're also talking like, what do you actually want to achieve with the data? For the media companies, they wanted easy access to data that was presented and ready-made for them so that they already can take charge from us and put in on their side, and also that could be adoptive. So we're, in contrast to our competitors, we're not just selling the data, but we're also selling the user experience so that we take care of the whole customer relationship.
And price-wise, do you have a...
Well, we don't need to employ people, so we're in a very good position there. But as you taught us through the program, we're not going to be cheap because of that.
And we have one more question over there.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have a question regarding the data you can actually process. Can you also go to like registries and find data on non-public companies? For example, in Greece, the public registry for companies is free, and you can get data for private companies. Can you do the same for like other countries? Can you translate these sort of things for like financial analysts who work at an investment bank or something like that? And for the ones that are actually behind the paywall, is there some way that you can have a company license that you can buy this data and then sell it back in a translated way to these customers?
Yeah, so we have been exploring data extraction from different kind of PDFs, and we've seen that it doesn't matter if it's a listed company or an unlisted company. So if the data is in a PDF, we can extract it. And then, of course, for us, it's very easy to sort of connect it, translate it, and offer it.
Any other questions for Azure Finance, maybe online or here, before we move on? No? Then thank you so much.
Perfect, thank you.
Azure Finance. All right, now we go to ticker meter. There we go. Now.
Hello. Is it on now?
Yes.
Yep. Start again.
Marcus, this is the ticker meter pitch.
So Marcus and I have worked together since Marcus first came up with the idea of ticker meter and put it onto Indiegogo, and we watched it go from 0 to 1 to 100 to 2,000 to 4,000 to more pieces just within a couple of days. So we worked together as a team from the start. I normally hide behind the scenes doing looking after manufacturing, and Marcus looks after all the sales. But he asked me to come today and help with the pitch, so no problem. So this is our first pitch together, you could say. So, all right. So, ticker meter, you can go in the center a bit more, Marcus. Ticker meter is a physical stock meter. I think you might have seen it on Loons Hule. And basically, since the very first sales on Indiegogo, then it's been growing since then. And so we've grown the portfolio now to like selling to companies such as eToro, NASDAQ, and many other brokers. We're up past 30,000 units sold now. I think it's been a lot of success due to Marcus's high skill in online selling and finding the right ideas to focus on. And so I think we've seen a lot of positive feedback from the finance market that we've sold to. I think that it's been a big success, I think, due to the fact that you get to show your stocks live in another design environment rather than on the phone. A lot of people have always said to us, why not just show it on an app? But it's a design that's a little bit retro, a little bit different, bringing in like a bit of the old school box thing, and people have said all different comments about the box, but actually it works super well, and it's got a unique way of stacking on top of each other, which we've designed together the way they stack into sets, and then you can stack them across with the original idea was to be able to make it look like an old school stock board, and having it going off and ringing and bells going and a whole lot of things happening. But I don't know how many people turn the bells on, Marcus. Not many. No. I think but most people will buy more than one unit. It's been like our big success has actually been just simplifying that, like looking at stocks and showing the different format, and then I think like making it more fun, more interesting, like, and then in the next phase forward is we found other use cases for the same device. So like it's been a perfect corporate gift. There was like the electricity application we brought in. There was also like the white labeling potential that we're having at the moment. We have a lot of interest from other people buying larger volumes of unit and branding it with their own brand on the product, and we're open to that. And also having a hardware as a service model that is also a growing area. I think that we've seen software as a service over the last 10 years grow. Hardware as a service is something that's kind of new. But it's actually a very fast-growing area, and I think we've seen everything being thrown onto the smartphone device, and we're seeing a trend in the design world now to get things off the smartphone, put them in other places, see them somewhere easy to read, easy to see, and then we're looking at like expanding the product line is our next challenge, you could say. So I think like we have had cash flow issues over the last like period, but as we make more sales, we sell more units, and those cash flow issues go away, and we can basically order more parts, more products, sell more things, and keep customers more happy. So, is there anything I missed?
I think that's it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ticker Meter.
So, thanks.
And I believe we've also brought a few devices here, so people can take a closer look in the networking break.
Yeah.
Any questions for Ticker Meter? We have one from Thomas over there.
I'll let you answer.
Well, yeah. There we go.
Hi, I'm Thomas from Copenhagen Fintech, and I absolutely love the product. I have two of those on my desk at home, and I gave it to my kids. At least they say they're happy about it, and they have it standing on their desk too. So thank you. And by the way, the whole of the Copenhagen Fintech board also got a device for the Christmas gift. So we're huge fans. Can you talk a little bit about, because I'm wondering the data you collect, whatever it is you collect from these devices the other way. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how can you utilize that data? Because there must be some interesting insights from 30,000 units out there.
This one?
Of course, we can see like we can see the interest in the different stock and what people they look at over time. This is interesting data for some, and we can look at like there's how it changes over time, what stock is currently like the most popular, and this kind of things. So that's the kind of data we do get from the devices.
No, but it's because we've been talking, and this device also, and I was talking to another Ornit that was coaching you this week also, and we were talking with her about the financial literacy kind of aspect into this product, and I can see it from my own kids that they're using it to suddenly be more aware of their investments for their children's savings or whatever. So I think there's an angle also. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on that aspect also?
Yeah, so we do see a lot of, like, as you say, literacy of the finance. So people that are not into stocks, they see this product on the table of people, and they like get into a conversation about the stock market. So it's like a conversation starter in that regard. Also, it's very simple to like get the info from the device, whereas like the stock charts, it's confusing for newcomers. So it's a great like intro to the stock and finance world, and that's how people they also use it a lot. It's like a conversation starter.
Room for one more question, if anyone would like to learn more. We have one from who? Yeah.
Thank you so much for the great presentation. I would like to know how the competitive landscape look for you guys, Is it mainly only the digital, like online providers of data, or are there also companies with a similar offering, like a physical product that you're selling?
Our biggest competitor, that would be like the trading apps, because that's like what people they currently use to watch their stock data. There are a few hardware products that does show stocks, but they don't have like the full focus on the stocks. So like we have the biggest availability of the data you can show, and we are the only one that does it like as a modular e-ink display, where the competitors, they use these big LED boards, which of course is also cool, but it's not like so it's not a direct competitor. That would be the trading apps. That would be the competitor.
I think we also have another uniqueness. There's no other product that's stacking. The stackability is actually very good for the business case. Other things have just a single product, single thing flashing, like the fact that you can actually buy one product, buy another, buy another, buy another. So it's not just one gift. One year could also be the next gift and the next gift. That's been a really big factor to, I think, the how many units we sell, and the business success has been that that initial idea of stacking. So you get an introductory product and you get more and more and more. And we've had some people that actually have like a whole desktop full of products. Brilliant.
I think the record is 35 for one private person. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Ticker Meter.
Thank you.
And now we go to our next presentation, where we have Lumini. There you go.
Great. Good afternoon. What if I were to ask you, what percentage of B2B invoice volume are overdue in Europe? One might think 15, 20%. The reality is 50%, which means that hundreds of millions of dollars of companies are sitting in bank accounts that are not their own, leading them to seek expensive bridge loans, factoring solution, and even face liquidity issues. Now, adding to this issue is accounts receivable team reliance on manual processes, Excel sheets, ad hoc meeting, and lack of insights to manage all these receivables. In numbers, that means that 50% of their task goes to non-productive work. McKinsey did a study last year in 2023, looking in the Nordics, and found that 220 billion euros are stuck in net working capital due to inefficiencies. That's where Lumini comes in. We're building the AI agent for accounts receivable management. Our tool understands payment patterns of customers, predict delays before they happen, and support finance teams with collection strategies. Also, AR is not just a finance function issue. It relies collaboration with sales and customer success, which are the front office teams. So to which we connect the CRM system, enabling seamless communication between teams, that data is shared, responsibilities are set, and nothing falls between the chairs. Now, our vision goes beyond automation. We want to become the B2B payment experience. And we want to offer this the same experience that the B2C world has to the B2B world, where they can select payment options as well as having tailored solutions. Now, we're targeting companies mostly in the tech and in the manufacturing space initially, and companies with revenues between 3 million and 200 million euros. Now, the best thing about Lumini is the team based in Stockholm. On top is my two co-founders, Salgo Danhold, who did his master's in financial mathematics as an engineer and worked the last 6 years as a management consultant, manager specializing in developing BI solutions and strategies for CFOs to help them unlock cash on the AR and AP side. Our CTO, Howie, who's a physicist engineer, who has worked 6 years at Spotify, leading teams in data and AI, developed a team of 30 at Volvo for their data and AI, and a great team of data and machine learning engineers coming from Spotify and have worked directly in the space of cash flow management. And the biggest news is last month, our active advisor, Per Åkerberg, joined. He's the board member and CEO of Medius. Medius is one of the most established accounts payable automation tool globally, with hundreds of millions of euros in revenue, and he's quite active and joined and is already bringing a lot of value within the team. So we're moving fast. Q1 was exploring the space. Q2, we entered a partnership with one of the largest IT company in the Nordics. Started development at the end of Q2. Onboarded first pilot, 4 pilot of media-sized customers in Q3. And now we're in advanced talk of landing of one well-known Swedish unicorn companies in Q4. So now we're raising 300,000 euros to help us accelerate the development in the first half of 2025. And myself, I'm Didier, with experience in finance and also in strategy consulting, having worked within the field of cash flow management before. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lumini. We have already a question from Henry, please.
Thanks, Didier. So whose budgets are you targeting, and who will you displace in order to access those budgets?
In terms of budgets, sorry if you can.
So for your target segment, who are you going to within the organization to secure the budget, and who are they currently paying to do this job?
Exactly. So we're targeting CFOs as a budget, but the end user, especially in the larger size companies, will be accounts receivable managers and credit controllers as well. But CFOs to have the overview of the AR, basically, from a strategic perspective. And currently they're using their ERP systems, but ERP systems are offering very basic functionalities and not really built for collection and automation from that perspective. Yes.
Any other questions? Maybe online or maybe here? We have one over there.
I was just wondering, what is the value proposition for the customers? Is that less payables outstanding, or is it staff reduction?
That is a very good point. It's both. So we expect to reduce, there's a term called DSO, it's Day Sales Outstanding. It's the average time it takes between invoicing and getting paid on the B2B side. And we expect to reduce it by over 20%. Helping them recover and minimize the need, as I said at the beginning, of factoring solution and loans. But also when it comes to the efficiency internally of their processes, we intend to reduce the number of FTEs when it comes to the accounts receivable managers by improving efficiency by over 30%. And eventually we want the AI to be an accounts receivable manager by itself.
And another question there, and the final one for Lumini.
How do you differentiate from other players in the market like High Radius and all who does similar kind of stuff? Yeah.
I think it's High Radius and, for example, Billtrust, which was acquired by AQT. Those are companies that are well established but are targeting the high enterprise customers. High Radius will have customers like L'Oréal or multinational companies, and it's the same for Billtrust. And for us, since we have the ability, we're new, we're building AI from the ground up, and we're supporting companies and for SMEs companies all the way to the large size customer at 200 million revenue. But we're not targeting the enterprise level customers with very complex ERP system like SAP. We leave it to High Radius and Billtrust.
Great, thank you so much, Lumini, everybody. And now we go to Transtars Network.
Thank you.
There you go.
Hi everyone, hello. My name is Luciano Roth. I'm the founder and CEO of Transtars Networks. Today I will introduce our cloud native infrastructure designed for fintech, for the small and medium businesses in the fintech sector. So 15 months ago, we launched our VPN application for the Asian market, giving secure internet access to more than 200,000 people. And then our challenge during this time was to bring our technology to Europe. So we found many problems. One from the technical depth and legacy systems, and the other, the strict regulations and how the data is stored and managed in Europe. Also, the high operational cost in public clouds. So the current solutions are fragmented, and this is leading to very inefficient workflows. So this is our current operation. We are operating more than 55 servers deployed in 11 countries. We generated €500,000 revenue, ARR, and we have 13,000 active users. In a market where the speed is everything, the vertical integration is our response. We are deploying networking, storage, and pre-built applications especially designed for small and medium businesses in fintech. So at DevOps, they can access to our marketplace, pick up a pre-built application according to their solutions, so when they can open a cluster, create a cluster, and deploy and manage their applications. So this is for simplified development, go fast to the market, and also they can automate the CI and CD pipelines, auto-scale the clusters according to the demand in this case, and then the real-time monitoring and observability tools. So for FinOps, they can allocate the budget and optimize resources. So as we can see here, for so long, the cloud and the public cloud have been overpriced, overcomplicated, and it takes too long to set up. So our solution is that we provide to compute, storage, and we aim to be the next cloud provider in the Nordics for the small and medium businesses fintech. So our team we are a group of 4. We have experience in the centralized applications and DeFi, blockchain, also in hardcore development, software development, Open Run, and encryption protocols. So at the moment we are expanding our team. We look actively looking for investment and strategic investment, and we are backed by Tenity and Goose Valley. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Transfers Network. We'll go to a Q&A now. Any questions among the audience?
Thank you. I saw you, sorry, just didn't quite follow. You had the early traction in Asia, and then you've come across to Europe, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And could you just talk me through that journey? What prompted you to come into Europe?
Yeah, we launched in Asia, so because it was very easy to deploy this technology, and also the VPN is in high demand, so we launched in the Asian market.
And then the decision to come
And then, well, we are based in Finland, so we saw the opportunity to continue and expand our current technology stack. So we saw the opportunity, we try to catch the trend, and we understand where we are and what is going to happen next.
So you're pursuing the growth in both markets simultaneously at the moment?
Well, we are more focused in the Nordics, but of course Asia is another business unit for us.
All right, and we'll take one more question from there.
Hi. So you are quite cheaper than the big players on the market. The question is, how would you respond to potential commercialization of the market and them actually dropping prices as well?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
So basically, what allows you to be so much cheaper than the competitors, the big players, and how would you respond to them actually lowering price and this becoming a commodity-like market?
Well, basically, as the public clouds, they are overpriced. They are having a 90% profits. So this is well known, and also is public service. We are focusing in microservices, especially. So we want to deploy the microservices for fintech, in these cases, for the companies with less resources.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Transfer Networks. We'll move on. Next up will be Klar Banking.
Let's step into the future of business finance. The future CFO is a person that has full control over the data that he needs for financial reporting and management. He has full control over, and he is connected to all the banks that he wants to connect to, and he is also connected to a host of financial services that tailor their products to his needs. All these applications are living in harmony, and the CFO is sitting at the top in a very happy place. Unfortunately, this is not the situation today, because data is siloed. The CFO is dealing with internal information systems where he needs an army of financial advisors and IT professionals to bridge the gaps between systems. He is limited in reach into the banking environment, which is possibly simply working with a single bank, because there are fragmented standards and there are data security issues to connect to this data. In terms of third-party solutions and fintech applications, it's a very expensive and difficult process to onboard a solution into his environment. This leads to the fact that the CFO and the teams that he works with are primarily focusing on the quality of data being accurate and correct for his reporting and decision-making within their businesses. So we have a solution. Klar is a financial data network that allows the CFOs to connect into a community of solutions. We create secure unified APIs that we group the banks and financial solutions into. We provide seamless integrations to the banks, and we allow an ecosystem for the CFOs to form. Our goal is to transform the CFO into a strategic enabler for his business in terms of finance. Our traction is forming, so we started our service in the beginning of the year in a commercial availability. And we have already reached 100 plus companies, and there is there's some police escort over here. We have more than 100 customers already using our solution, and we are growing at up to 22% every quarter. This we are doing with a team of 2 people. All the commercial banks are connected to our platform, and the CFOs are enjoying connectivity to the bank of choice without any effort. The size of our markets is huge. There's a lot of companies available in the world. We have targeted or defined a market of 2 million businesses that can use our solution. Our goal is a 20% market share, leading to 400,000 companies worldwide. This is a market that is going to explode because companies are going to the new reality of having more access to financial services than before. Our roadmap starts in Iceland. We are entering the EU through the Nordics, and our goal is to go into the US as well. Like I said, we are a team of 2. We are seeking the right investors to help us scale Klar as we take a step into the Nordic markets and onwards.
Thank you so much, Klar Banking. And of course, questions for Klar Banking. We have one from Hula.
Thank you. Super interesting. I'm deeply impressed that you're just 2 people. How do you onboard the customers? My experience with these kinds of systems is that it's very hard to get the CFOs to change their mindset and the systems that they use. So how do you onboard?
Yes, I relate your question directly to the boring job of improving businesses from within. So we work with partners, and the partners that we have already brought into our ecosystem are focusing on the Microsoft business solutions, being Business Central, financing operations. So our channel to the market is actually through these partners. And there is a big trend going on right now where our customers are transitioning from historical applications into the cloud. And we have a technology stack which is perfect for this transition.
And we can take one more question. Otherwise, there's always the networking break. One more from Uwe.
So earlier this week, UpSWOT, a company operating mainly in the US but from Europe, was acquired by Uptick in the US. So this company is roughly 8 years old, from what I know. So in other words, something in your space has been going on for a while. So what is it that sets you apart from the open banking, open accounting platforms that have been around for a while?
Okay, so the basically the uniqueness that we have in our market, our small market in Iceland, only 400,000 people, is that the banking environment has been developing as a digital environment for a very long time, and we have very highly developed, secure APIs that we connect to. And so when we take the step into these markets here, we are seeing that the communication is, in many cases, it's file-based. So the challenge is to basically bridge between the different standards of files transferring, and it's a technical nightmare, we can say. We are on the other end focusing on the API integration, real-time integrations to the banks. So we are basically focusing on the future platforms that the banks and this industry is going to be based on. So we definitely know that there is a lot of people that are connecting. We are building a solution with our partners which is basically end-to-end. So we are participating in creating the end user experience for the customers using our infrastructure solution.
Great. Thank you so much, Klar Banking. And we have 3 more presentations to go. And next up is Eterno.
Yes. Is the mic on? Yeah, super. Hello, everyone. I'm Samuel from Eterno, and we help families who recently lost someone get access to their digital assets and online accounts. It all started about a year ago when I lost my uncle to COVID. Being the tech guy in the family, they asked me if I can help them retrieve his digital assets and online accounts. And that's when I found out it's nearly impossible to do. Finding all the accounts, dealing with lawyers, dealing with power of attorneys, all extremely time-consuming. But it was not only an issue for my family. It's an issue for 60 million people that die and their families. With more and more of our assets living online, our memories, our data, our financial assets, with an increase of over 400% in the last 4 years, this is an increasing problem in the current age. That's why we started Eterno. Eterno is essentially a middleman between families and data companies, where we can find accounts of the deceased person, verify the identity of those accounts, that it belongs to them, and send legal requests to the data holding companies. We are able to retrieve memories such as pictures, videos, and documents, but also financial assets such as online banks, neobanks like Revolut, Lunar, and N26, and brokerage accounts and online crypto accounts. Not the cold wallet ones, but online ones such as Binance and Coinbase. The business model currently revolves with a beachhead in B2B, where we go to funeral homes, funeral directors, or pilmen in Danish, where they provide the service to their own clients. Then we expand into B2C, so people who don't have access to such funeral homes can also help retrieve their loved ones' assets and memories. And lastly, we see a massive opportunity in actually verifying the requests that the big data companies have to process themselves nonetheless, ourselves. So a complete middleman in the whole digital inheritance process. Currently, it takes more than 1.5 months to get access to a simple Facebook account, as an example. With our platform, we are able to bring it down to just 15 minutes. With my team, myself as the founder, Usama back there, and a third co-founder who is currently in negotiation stages, so you'll learn more about it soon. Advisor Martin, who is 25 years in commercial experience. Between me and Usama, we have 25 years in software development, and co-founder with 25 years, with 22 years in commercial and new business operations. We currently have 3 pilots in Denmark. We're looking to expand that, and we've processed 57 cases to date, and we started about 6 months ago. With our projections and costs, we're looking at a very death-defying growth, you might say. We are currently raising 550,000 euros with 350,000 already committed. We're going to use that to establish ourselves more in Denmark and expand to Sweden and Norwegian markets. If you are interested in joining us along the journey, please come talk to me or Sama afterwards. Or if you are from an insurance or pension provider and you would love to have your clients have access to such a technology that can help them with digital inheritance, please come talk to me as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We already have a question from Henry.
Thank you. I'm going to avoid the temptation to make some poor taste jokes on the death-defying growth.
Feel free to go. I've already gone there
You've
with
gone
the
there,
death-defying growth.
You've gone there, yeah. Well, I might come back to that. But just on the early traction, is that the customers, are they B2C or B2B?
They're the B2B customers. So we have partnered up with Bilmen in Denmark, so the funeral homes, and they are actually providing it to their own clients. So when someone passes away, they come to the funeral home to arrange a funeral, and then as part of that offering, they are also doing digital inheritance.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Can you elaborate a bit on the model you have with the funeral homes? Are you paying them something for referring to you, or what's the model here? Why are they doing it?
Yeah, so it's a split revenue, and currently it's priced quite high for the funeral home, so they're getting quite a boost in their profits, which results to about 10% increase in profits per client when they're using our solution. But that is only for now, I would say. We're looking to bring that down a bit. The reason why it's so high right now is because funeral homes are a very traditional industry, and they are not as financially incentivized, but 10% is still 10%, right? So the goal is to establish ourselves in Denmark more and more, and then once people are aware that this is something that they can do, then they're going to start asking other undertakers, why are you not providing this? In which case we can start partnering up with them and offering them the solution, but for a bit lower revenue split.
And one more question.
Wow, so many questions. Feel free to come talk to me afterwards.
Do you have an exit strategy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. When it comes to an exit, it's quite hard to say, we can be acquired by this or that company. If I had a crystal ball, I can tell you which company specifically, but we don't really see ourselves as being acquired by, for example, a social media company. What we could see is an insurance company or something similar. Additionally, or the other alternative is for us to go public. As a middleman And this is only the beginning, I want to say. The goal is to be full solution for digital inheritance, meaning before someone passes away, when they pass away, and continued efforts after they pass away.
Can take one more question. So, and then Samuel will stick around in a networking break, so a networking piece.
Thank you for the presentation. When you go B2C, how are you going to prevent fraud?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the reason why we started with B2B is because it's easier to prevent fraud. When it comes to B2C, there are some options that we're looking into, for example, linking it to the government data, such as in Denmark, there is a CPR number. And if someone passes away, that is then linked in the CPR data that they've passed away. Of course, currently it's easier for us to do B2B because we know there is a body, right? As morbid as it sounds. But yeah, that's a very good question. And the way we're planning to tackle it with more verification of the relationship between the family that is requesting it, the deceased person, and external data sources that are available.
Thank you so much, Eterno.
Thank you.
And of course, more questions can be asked in the networking part. We'll move on to Zip.
Thank you for this, Andrew.
There you go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. You hear me good? Super. Okay, my name is Sebastian, and I'm here together with Oscar today to talk a little about smart receipts. A smart receipt is something that goes directly into your bank account, because we all know the frustrations, right? We still need to take that photo of paper receipt. And it's not only us, it's a measurable frustration. It's over $1 billion in only handling cost, human errors, and accounting frustrations, right? So why hasn't it been done before? I mean, the trend is there. We got the extremely popular apps we all know today, right? But you still take the photo of the receipt. It's just a banned solution until we actually find a path forward. So the challenge then, the challenge has always been the merchants, because they don't understand a model outside of sending that receipt into their customer clubs. They never had one. It's never been a strategic option. They always want us to say, hey, do you want to sign up to that customer club? Do you want to be tracked? Do you want to get consumption information shared to us? Yes, we say yes, but that's because they don't have any option. So that's what you need to do in this market. You need to change the perception of the merchants to understand that 72% of your receipts are wasted, thrown away. Let's turn that into a valuable service for us as consumers and a revenue stream for the merchants. So that's exactly what we did. We went out into the market to try to find who can be the buyer of the receipt, who can be the entity to bring this to a market, a strategy that the merchants understand. And we ended up with SEB and Nordea, because they have corporate cards. And corporate card holders, they don't like to take the photo of the receipt, right? Frustration. So they're willing to pay for that service, to get the data on the transaction lines to be designated and put it into the ERP system where it creates a value. The VAT is on there, where it was bought is on there, and the articles that's been bought is on there. So that's what it is. Creating a strategy, you have to make a receipt a product. And corporate card is only the beginning. You can also do VAT refund, you can do secondhand market, and you can do another insight and actionable data. And joining me on this is a team of 10, a fantastic team of 10. We've done this for over 10 years now, and been dissecting the market. We're going back and forth, we're pivoting, and we have asked what it's going to take to get this out. And now in 2025, we're finally launching together with Nordea and SEB in Norway, and then we're going to grow out into the Northern Europe to an addressable market of over 1.4 billion. So today I'm standing here to ask about opportunities. To join us with a deep technical understanding of how to make this happen, and to finally bring some more corporate card values to you and your customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Zip. Questions for Sebastian from Zip?
Me again, sorry. So you've been going for 10 years. Have you already
Yeah,
received
yeah.
funding? Talk us a little bit through that story.
4 jobs, traded half my soul. No, it's been a tough road, of course. You have to build team, you have to build understanding of the technology. It's a very convoluted and very kind of like secrets market, the transaction industry. The Visa, MasterCard really doesn't want to share the secrets of how they actually do it, which is not that complicated, to be honest, but yeah. And yeah, just, I mean, sweat and tears and blood, I would say. It's just, I've been going forklift driving on 4:30 on Sundays and, you know, raising money from friends, families, and fools, I suppose, in the beginning, to finally get Tenity and some traction into the market with some, you know, positive wins now with a final launch coming up. So that's been the action.
Institutional money.
Yes, the first one, yeah. So it's, yeah, I know. But it's really cool, actually. Thank you.
And perhaps one more question for Zeep.
So we first met in 2018 in Oslo at the
Correct.
Fintech factory. How much has the operational model or the service model evolved during that time? And can you describe shortly how?
Yeah, so we were tricked by the market to go after something called tokenization in the beginning. It has a very nice, very direct way of connecting the receipt to you as an end consumer of it, but it has a very limitation of how it's going to grow. So we had to redo the model and understand if we're going to do it. We have to do it on the transaction because that is a taxable. I mean, you can call it like it's required by the tax authority to be on the receipt, the transaction. So we could connect with that. But the bank needed to mature to move that path down. Then we also understand on the way that it was not only an end consumer value, it was also bringing a whole industry of different verticals of value on the same set of data, the same receipt. For example, you are going to sell something on the second-hand market, you want to validate your ownership, right? And that is a service with a stamp of validation that you're willing to pay for to increase the value of your product in the second-hand market. So that's one of the verticals we have now built the specification for, and actually getting traction on, but we can take that at a later stage.
Great, thank you so much, Sebastian, Zeep, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
And now the final presentation of today, where we have Diwa.
Thank you, Andre. Hello, guys. This is fun. Almost done. Just 3 more minutes to go. I'm Lawrence, co-founder and CEO of Diwa, the company that is unlocking the next generation of digital identity. And it is about time for this digital identity to be revolutionized. About 1/3 of the European population has been attacked by identity theft. If this room was the representation of the EU, it would be the whole line and the front section here. You guys have been attacked and people actively tried to steal your identity and steal your personal funds. Now, the EU realized that this is a massive problem and implemented the eIDAS 2.0 regulation. This regulation mandates each and every European member state to issue digital identity wallets. These wallets, just like the Apple wallet did a couple years ago with the payments, replace all kinds of physical IDs and enable seamless and secure access to digital services. So you have passport, driver's license, any ID you can think about will be digitalized and you will be able to use that anywhere you go in the EU, be it in the physical world or on the web. Now, as I believe nobody of you has a digital identity wallet yet, but you will have one from 2026. So that's a huge new market that's opening up with over 500 million users. Now, surprise, surprise, we developed a digital identity wallet, but not just any digital identity wallet. We're the first and only EU-certified digital identity wallet in Denmark, and one of very few in the EU. Now, this is a real wonder device, because you can do amazing things with these wallets. This is how the future is going to look like. Everywhere you go on the web, be it your bank or any digital service you're trying to access, you will find the login with wallet option. On the other hand side, there will be a new button added to the payment section in e-commerce where you will be able to pay with your wallet. This is the wonderful team, our genius Thomas, Lucas, board and mentor. If I wanted to go deep into it and tell you how amazing everyone is, I would be standing here for hours. So I leave that with the networking part. So what's next? We will put the DIWA wallet in every Danish citizen's pocket early next year. Why and how has to stay a secret for now, but I hope soon you will know why. And on the other hand side, the payment solution is what we're currently very focused on. We're here at Luna, so it would be interesting to know how much they're actually paying to Apple for each transaction done through Apple Pay. The research shows around 1.5% for each transaction a bank has to pay to Apple. Mats is not here anymore, I believe, so I think he would know how much. It's an insane amount. We can bring that down to almost 0%, so that's also a huge opportunity for us. If you're an investor and you want to get some skin in the game of digital identity wallets, now would be a good time for you to talk to us. But our main focus are banks for now. Thank you.
Thank you, DIWA. We already have a question for...
So we already have Apple and Google wallets. What stops them from being homes to the payment solutions, to the EIDs, or well, rather the digital IDs, I guess?
Well, it doesn't stop the payment solutions, but the EU doesn't want Apple and Google to have IDs in their wallet. We can see that in America, that's not a problem. The first states are onboarding the national IDs onto Apple wallet, but the EU just doesn't want them to gain also this monopoly. This is why this whole thing is opening up, which is also why every country, every European country is mandated to issue such a wallet, because they don't want this to fall into the hands of the American companies or any outside company than the EU. However, we are able to operate anywhere inside of the EU. Because we are EU compliant, we can plug this same technology in anywhere in the EU and provide this for each and every country.
We have a question from Thomas.
And that goes to a little bit your thoughts around scaling, Lawrence. Because I would, to some extent, this is also a little bit a land grab game, as I understand it, the digital ID and the wallet space here. So talk us through kind of your thoughts on how you, because I would believe that, you know, geographies south of the border here, where you are less mature in the digital ID space would be super interesting, but let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so the great thing about this is that the eIDAS 2.0 suggests a standardized solution that will be applicable to each and every country. In our case, we wanted to go with a branded solution first, but it's very hard to establish trust in such a very difficult like environment when we talk about identity, which is why we're also partnering up with someone. But our solution is a white labeled solution. So you can use this wallet and put Nordea on, you can use this wallet and put Deutsche Bank on, and this is kind of where we are finding our fit right now. We're getting approached by both large tech companies that will be providers of this technology to countries, but also banks, which is quite funny that they also want to have their own wallet.
And a follow-up question from Thomas.
I think if you look to Asia, there's these super apps, and Grab is an example of that. You know, the Grab wallet, and it holds everything. Everything you can think of, it holds. Like, how do you see, being an expert in this area, Lawrence? How do you see that developing in Europe with this?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first step into super apps, right? Italy already launched their digital identity wallet early, just last month. So yeah, it's just a matter of time until these things progress. This is kind of the first iteration. First, also the EU only wanted to have IDs inside. Now they're suggesting to integrate these payment cards as well. So yeah, we definitely see a trend also in Europe to develop these kinds of super wallets or super apps.
You're not doing taxis though.
No taxis yet.
Thank you so much, Diwa, Lawrence. All right, those were the presentations, everybody. What's going to happen next? Before we go to the networking piece, we'll do a group photo with all the companies here. And also, I would like to let you know that we will follow up in an email in the next couple of days with the contact details of the founders. So if you want to continue the conversation beyond the networking part, you're more than welcome to do so. And then in other news, next year, Copenhagen, Fintech, and Tenity will be running this program again. So come spring, come March, we will be launching a new edition of the New Nordic Challengers. So we hope to see you in spring, in summer, for the next demo day. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks everyone that joined online, and see you next time.